I'm Clara Monroe, 32, head of communications at a real estate corporation in Denver. The job is stressful, but I love it, just like I used to love Tyler. We were together for nearly 6 years. Tyler, a tall, calm, structural engineer, was the shoulder I trusted unconditionally. 3 years ago, he got down on one knee in the middle of Union Station Park, hands trembling as he opened the ring box and said, his voice shaking, "I don't need anything else but you." I cried, nodding like a child, being promised she'd never be left behind. Everything seemed on track. We'd just bought a small condo in Cherry Creek and were planning a fall wedding. I was busy leading a major brand campaign for a new development complex. So when my boss asked me to fly to Seattle for a 3-day work trip, I simply texted Tyler, "I'll be back sooner than expected. Miss you." He replied with a smiley face and said, "I've got a surprise waiting." I didn't expect his surprise to punch me straight in the chest. On the final day of the trip, I changed my flight and came back a day early, hoping to surprise Tyler with dinner. The plane landed around 8 p.m. I didn't tell him. I wanted to knock on the door and hug him from behind like in the movies. The spare key was still hooked inside the left pocket of my backpack. I gently unlocked the door. The lights were on. In the kitchen, 2 half-drunk glasses of red wine sat on the counter. A pair of nude high heels lay crookedly on the rug. Shoes I never wore. I heard laughter from the bedroom, then the sound of a bed. I froze in place. I don't remember how I walked in. The scene tore through every cherished memory. Tyler, the man I was about to marry, lay in bed with. Emily, my younger sister. She was straddling him, hair disheveled, hand pressed against his chest. When I opened the door, they both froze. Emily shrieked, panicked, pulling the blanket up. Tyler's eyes went wide, his face turned pale. Neither of them could speak. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I said just one thing. "So that's it. You two chose each other behind my back." Tyler stammered, "Clara, I thought you were still in Seattle." "Thought?" I laughed coldly. "You thought betraying me would be easier if I wasn't around?" Emily clutched the blanket to her chest, avoiding my gaze. She whispered, This this wasn't meant to hurt you." "Wasn't meant to?" I turned to her, eyes locked. "You're in your underwear on my bed with my fiancé, and you think I'm that stupid?" Emily broke down in tears. Tyler stepped forward, hand out. "We need to talk." I stepped back. "No, we don't. You've said enough with your bodies." I took off the ring and threw it to the floor. "You want to be together? Fine, but don't expect me to disappear quietly." I walked out, hands trembling like I had the chills. My heart wasn't just broken, it had been crushed under the heel of the very shoe Emily had just kicked off. I couldn't sleep for 3 days. The messages and calls came in waves, cutting deeper each time. But I never answered. I didn't need to hear another word from traitors. Whether it was him or my sister, they hadn't just taken my fiancé. They had stolen the trust I gave to blood, to promises, and to the future I once dreamed of with Tyler. I didn't know why I went back to my parents' house in Boulder the next morning. Maybe I just needed a space without Emily's perfume, without the sound of the bedroom door I once trusted with my whole heart. My dad opened the door. He didn't ask anything. He didn't hug me. He simply stepped aside. I walked into the house like a ghost. 48 hours later, Emily came back. I was sitting in the kitchen, drinking coffee, when I heard the door open. A pale pink suitcase rolled across the hardwood floor. She didn't look at me, but I looked, really looked. No red lipstick or perfectly curled hair like always, just a pale face, dark circles under her eyes, like she hadn't slept or survived. The weight of what she had done. My dad shot up from the sofa, his voice low and sharp. "Get out of my house right now." Emily froze, blinking. I don't have anywhere to go." "Not my problem." "Yeah, don't call me that. I don't have a daughter who does something that filthy." Each word he said cut like a knife, but this time not into me, into Emily. She stood there, eyes glistening, glancing toward me, hoping for a sliver of sympathy. I turned away. I just want to talk to Clara. You don't have the right to say my name. I set the coffee cup down. You're not my sister anymore. Emily's voice cracked, but she pushed through. He said you two were already falling apart. He said you only cared about work, that you didn't love him anymore. I turned back to her, cold as stone. Oh yeah? And that gave you permission to sleep with my fiancé in my bed? No one said another word. My dad stepped forward, opened the door, and pointed. Get out before I call the police. Emily picked up her suitcase and walked out. I thought I'd feel relief, but what I felt was a terrifying emptiness. 3 days later, my mom flew in from Arizona. She didn't know what had happened until I told her. Flat voice, dry eyes. She didn't cry, she sighed and said, Emily was wrong, but she's still your sister. I laughed out loud. Did you just say that? You can't keep punishing her. She's young. She made a mistake, but you're her big sister. And that makes destroying my engagement easier to forgive? Don't say it like that. I'll say it exactly like that. And Mom, if you're picking sides, I'm not the one you're protecting. She fell silent. The kitchen was colder than the winter outside. I stood up and grabbed my coat. Don't call me again, I said, opening the door. I'll come back when someone in this house remembers who they hurt. I moved back to Denver the next day. The empty condo felt suffocating, but I needed it. A space where no one justified betrayal with the word family. Tyler texted every day. No apologies, no begging, just, are you okay? I didn't respond. He didn't deserve to know if I was okay. Every night I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying to imagine my life without them. Without Emily, without Tyler, without the wedding we'd planned for October. I used to think I was strong, but now I wasn't sure. Every time my phone buzzed, my chest clenched. Not because I still loved them, but because I was disgusted with myself, for ever believing they loved me. A week later, I opened Instagram. Emily had posted a photo, wearing white, standing next to Tyler. The caption read, "We don't need anyone's blessing, as long as we have each other." It had over 800 likes, including my mom. I turned off my phone. Didn't cry. Didn't throw it. I never thought I'd have to see their names printed on the same line, but on a May morning, I found a thick, cream-colored envelope with gold trim and embossed floral patterns in my mailbox. No return address. I already knew. A chill ran down my spine. I carried it inside like it was something dangerous. I stared at it for 5 minutes before finally pulling out the card. Inside was a meticulously designed wedding invitation. Glossy black ink, the words printed clearly. Emily Monroe and Tyler Grant cordially invite you. I dropped the invitation like I'd touched acid. Below it was a handwritten note in familiar, wobbly purple ink. Clara, I hope you'll come. I really want you there for the biggest day of my life. Your sister. I laughed, not out of joy, but because this story had officially crossed into the absurd. She wrecked my wedding, then invited me to hers with him? I stood up, opened the drawer, and grabbed my lighter. The blue flame danced beneath my thumb. I almost lit the corner of the card, but stopped. Not because I forgave her, but because I didn't want them to think I was hiding. If Emily thought I would vanish like some loser in the background, she'd calculated wrong. I slid the invitation back into the envelope and tucked it into my desk drawer. I would go, but not to bless them, not to forgive. I would go to show them. They could take a man from me, but they could never take my dignity. They could not break me. A week later, my mother called. She sounded like nothing had ever happened. Did you get the invitation? I just spoke with Emily. She's really hoping you'll come. I said, nothing. Clara, are you there? I got it. So, will you come? I gave a cold smile. I will. I wouldn't miss this rare opportunity. She sighed in relief. That's wonderful. I knew you were mature enough not to let the past. No, Mom, I'm not going because I'm mature. I'm going because I want to watch them bind themselves to each other for life. And I want them to see I'm still standing, whole. I hung up, and in that moment, something unfamiliar surged through me. Not hate, but a quiet, burning resolve. The venue was a luxury resort in Aspen, 3 days, 2 nights, full of cocktail parties, tea parties, the wedding, and a Sunday morning family brunch. Emily never did anything halfway, especially when it came to performance. I opened my closet. It was full of gray, beige, black, the kind of safe taste Tyler used to approve of. I slammed the doors shut. No more safe. I would walk into that wedding as a living declaration, bold, in control, no apology needed. That night, I called my best friend, Rachel. She didn't need the full story. You're not going alone, Rachel said firmly. We're going to plan this, the most fabulous plan. You're not scared of that crowd? Clara, I've watched you cry like a broken doll on your kitchen floor. If you're getting back up now, I'll stand right beside you, or in front of you, if wind blocks need to be punched. We laughed. For the first time in weeks, my heart felt a little lighter. 3 weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. Clara, I know you hate me, but I'm asking, please don't come. Don't do anything that will make people uncomfortable. Tyler? I stared at the screen. 1 second. 2. Then I replied, oh, I'll be there. And I'll be in the front row. Count on it. Then I hit send. From the moment I decided to attend the wedding, I knew I couldn't show up as Clara the broken one. I wasn't going to be a silent backdrop to their borrowed happiness. I was going to remind them what they lost was someone irreplaceable. Rachel named our preparation Phoenix, and I was the one rising from the ashes, Tyler and Emily left behind. Step 1, physical transformation. That first week, Rachel dragged me to a small gym in downtown Denver, where she used to train with a private coach. You're not here to lose weight, she said. You're here to gain strength. You're walking into that wedding like a gravitational pull. The trainer's name was Alex, Puerto Rican, carved like a statue with a smile that never dimmed. He didn't ask why I was there. He just said, we're going to help you feel like yourself, only stronger. The 6 a.m. sessions made me want to quit. But every drop of sweat on the mat felt like a wound finally healing. Each dumbbell lift felt like I was shedding the weight of betrayal I'd carried for the past 3 months. After 2 weeks, Rachel booked a session with a stylist named Monica, who had worked with Met Gala guests. Monica looked me up and down, then tilted her head. What do you want everyone at that wedding to feel when they see you? I didn't hesitate. Regret. She smiled like a cat who just trapped a mouse. Good, then you're not wearing pastels. You're wearing power. We browsed more than 10 boutiques before Monica stopped at a discreet, unmarked store. There, she pulled out a deep sapphire gown, plunging neckline, flowing silk, studded with shimmering stones like fallen stars. When she stepped out of the fitting room, Rachel froze. Monica clapped. This isn't Clara the betrayed anymore, she said. This is Clara, the woman Tyler should tremble to face. I had never worn anything so bold, but for the first time in months, I didn't feel the need to hide behind simplicity and modesty. I needed the world to know. I'm still here. I survived. Monica didn't stop there. I dyed my hair from cool brown to caramel ombre with soft waves. My face was redefined through professional makeup. Sharper eyes, matte, full lips, a touch of bronzer to reflect quiet confidence. Then came presence. Rachel signed me up for a 4-session body language and presence course. You need to walk into a room like you own it, she said. Even if I don't, especially when you don't. I learned how to walk slowly, keep my head high, hold eye contact, and smile just right. Not the polite kind, the kind that makes people wonder, what does she know that I don't? Each night, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at the woman in the reflection. She no longer flinched at pain. She was ready to walk into the lion's den. Not to be torn apart, but to teach the lion how to fear. And then, 2 weeks before the wedding, Rachel gave me one final suggestion. You'll need someone to go with you. You mean a fake date? Not fake, just someone who turns that wedding into a comparison. I raised an eyebrow. Do you have someone in mind? Rachel winked. Oh, I do. And trust me, if there's anyone who'll make Tyler swallow hard, it's him. I laughed. But I didn't say no. The charity gala took place at the Ritz-Carlton in Denver, an event gathering donors for the Pancreatic Cancer Support Fund, where my company was a silver sponsor. Rachel had begged me to attend in her place because of a scheduling conflict with her cousin's wedding. I hadn't planned on going, but then I thought, if I wanted to walk into my sister's wedding at my absolute best, practicing my social presence, somewhere like this was part of the plan. I chose a simple black bodycon dress, a low bun hairstyle, and plum-colored heels, not too flashy, just enough that no one would assume I was hiding from the world. After the silent auction and opening remarks, I slipped away to the bar for a drink. As I reached for the glass handed by the bartender, I accidentally bumped into a man behind me. Red wine splashed across the front of his crisp white shirt. Oh my God! I'm so sorry, I gasped, grabbing napkins from the bar and trying to blot the stain. It's all right, he laughed, gently taking my wrist to stop me. Honestly, this shirt was too serious for tonight anyway. I looked up. Tall, with neatly cropped black hair, deep brown eyes, and a smile that made me forget my next apology. He had an ease about him, not the smug charm I'd grown wary of, but a calmness that made you want to keep talking. Let me make it up to you with another glass, I said. Cabernet or Malbec? As long as it stays upright this time, he joked. I'm Nathan Ashford. The name caught me off guard for half a second. Familiar. I remembered seeing it in an Architectural Digest feature. Clara Monroe, I replied, shaking his hand. You're an architect? Well, I guess some people still read the tiny credit lines under buildings, he smiled. I just moved back to Denver after 6 years working in Europe. We sat at a cocktail table near the balcony. Our conversation drifted from wine to Italian garden design, then on to people out of sync with timing, missed chances, and finally I told him, briefly but honestly, about my ex marrying my sister. Nathan didn't look at me with pity, he just listened, unblinking. And then he said, well, allow me to make a proposal, perhaps not wise, but sincere. Let me go to that wedding with you. I laughed. We've known each other less than an hour. Clara, he said, leaning in slightly, you don't need someone to pretend to be in love with you. You just need someone confident enough to stand beside you and make everyone wonder what happened between them that she's glowing like that now. And you think you're that guy? I don't think, he lifted his glass, eyes playful. I know. I didn't answer right away, but that night when he asked for my number and I didn't say no, I knew I had stepped into something both dangerous and thrilling. In the weeks that followed, Nathan and I saw each other often. He took me to an architectural exhibit at the Denver Art Museum, treated me to dinner at a Peruvian restaurant where the chef was his friend, and once drove me through the mountain roads of Evergreen. Just to quiet the city noise, he said. I told him about Emily, about Tyler, about the feeling of being swept aside by the people you love without warning. Nathan never interrupted. He never tried to fix the past. He simply listened. And that, more than anything, made me feel whole again. One night, just before we left for Aspen, I asked him, are you sure you want to come with me? There'll be a lot of eyes, a lot of questions. Nathan just smiled, stepped closer, and adjusted the strap of my dress. Clara, I'm not going to play the lucky man, he said. I'm going because I truly am one. In that moment, I wasn't sure if my heart was melting or finally learning to believe again. Emily and Tyler's wedding was held at the Aspen Ridge Resort, a place where booking a single room could max out a regular person's credit card. Emily had always loved showing off, and Tyler, well, I now understood he never minded letting someone else foot the bill to paint his dream for him. Nathan and I arrived Friday afternoon. He wore a deep navy tailored suit. I chose a floor-length emerald silk dress with a draped neckline and open back that shimmered in the evening light. As we entered the cocktail reception, the room seemed to hush. Glasses clinked quietly. Eyes followed our every step. Tyler stood nearby, holding a whiskey, chatting with one of the groomsmen. His gaze flicked to me. Only a second's glance, but I saw it. The subtle shake of his hand gripping the glass. Emily spotted me within 3 seconds and took 3 more to realize the night wasn't going the way she'd scripted. That evening, I did one thing, stayed silent, and radiated presence. Nathan was brilliant in tense social situations. He greeted people warmly, skillfully deflected nosy questions about our relationship, and had a gift for making even my former whisperers laugh out loud. By Saturday evening, the main wedding event, everything was set in a glass ballroom overlooking the snow-dusted pines. I wore a sapphire gown with a daring slit-low bun and deep red lips. Nathan escorted me in like we'd just stepped off a wedding magazine cover. The reception unfolded as expected, opening remarks, toasts, cake cutting, the first dance. Then suddenly, Emily grabbed the microphone from the host. "Sorry," she said, smiling, her voice tinged with wine. "I know this isn't on the schedule, but I want to say a few words from the heart." I squeezed Nathan's hand under the table. He leaned in and whispered, "Don't react, let her dig." Emily stood beneath the chandelier, her dress glittering. "I know," she began, eyes scanning the room. "Some people here think she stole her sister's fiancé. But let me be clear." Cutlery stopped midair. Silence thickened. Tyler wasn't stolen. He found the person he was meant to be with. Someone he could be himself around, not someone he had to perform for just to be enough. She turned and looked straight at me. "Clara is the past. I am his future." The room felt like it had forgotten how to breathe. Then Nathan stood. Calm, deliberate. He took a mic from a nearby waiter. "If I may," he said, his voice warm and clear. "A few words about choices and worth." Emily paused. Tyler looked around, uneasy. "I've only known Clara a few weeks," Nathan continued, "but I've seen enough to know she doesn't need any man's choice to define her worth. Her presence, her walk, her words, is proof that losing her is the deepest regret a man can have." The room stirred, whispers rippled. Nathan turned toward me. No arrogance, no performance, just truth. "I'm not here to avenge her. I'm here because I chose Clara. Not for the past she's endured, but for the woman she's become. And for anyone wondering, I'm not a stand-in. I'm the new beginning. Better, real, and absolutely certain." A pause. Then a single clap. Another. And then the ballroom erupted in thunderous applause. Emily stepped back, her cheeks flushed, whether from wine or embarrassment it wasn't clear. Tyler bowed his head, avoiding my gaze. I left the ballroom while the band was playing a love song for the bride and groom. Not because I felt weak, but because I needed a quiet place to breathe after the earthquake named Nathan Ashford. The women's restroom sat at the end of a long hallway lined with gray carpet. The soft lights reflected off the mirror, blurring every sharp edge. I stood at the sink, lightly touching my cheek, the makeup still flawless, but my eyes were red from emotion, not because of Tyler, but because for the first time, someone stood in front of hundreds of guests and said I was worth more than the past. The door opened behind me. Emily walked in. Her wedding gown still looked like something out of a museum, but her eyes had cracked. "You're leaving?" she asked, her voice low. None of her usual haughtiness remained. I didn't turn. "No, I just needed a space where I don't have to hear your voice." She slowly walked to the sink beside me, silent for a few moments. Then she said, "When he said, 'I'm the new beginning,' I knew I'd truly lost." I turned slightly, catching her reflection in the mirror, exhausted, conflicted, and hurting. "Clara," she said more softly, Do you know what it's like to live under someone else's shadow for over 20 years? I didn't answer. I never hated you, she continued. You were the first one to teach me how to tie my hair, the one who took the blame when I broke the neighbor's window in elementary school. But you were always better, always the one Mom and Dad bragged about. You went to Stanford, I barely made it into state college. You spoke at that national media conference, and me, I just quietly checked your updates on LinkedIn. My hands clenched. My chest ached. Not out of pity, but from the realization that I had never really looked at my little sister. And then one day, Tyler walked into the cafe where I worked. I don't know why, but he talked to me for nearly an hour. At that moment, I wasn't thinking long term. I just felt seen. Finally, someone noticed me, without mentioning the name Clara. You knew he was my fiancé. Not at first, but by the time I found out, it was already too late, and instead of stopping, I thought, this time, I'm not stepping back. I turned to her, facing her directly. You slept with my fiancé to escape my shadow? I'm not trying to justify anything, Emily replied, her eyes welling. I just want you to understand. To me, Tyler wasn't entirely about love. He was proof that I could win, something people thought only you deserved. I gave a cold chuckle. So, how'd it feel when you realized he wasn't worth winning? Emily choked up. He doesn't look at me the way Nathan looks at you. He doesn't even look at me the way he did at first. You can hate me forever, but I dug this hole myself, and I'm still falling. The air grew heavy. I handed her a tissue. Instinctively, you're always like this, she whispered. Even when I broke you, you still reach out. No, I said, voice steady. I'm not forgiving you. But I'm done wrapping myself in pain like it's a security blanket. Maybe we'll never be sisters the way we once were, but today, I choose not to hate you anymore. Emily nodded. Her tears stained the sleeve of her wedding gown. A strange moment between two women who once giggled under bunk beds and now stood eye to eye across irreparable cracks. I left the restroom first, without looking back, but I knew behind me stood someone who had finally learned. Being seen should never come at the cost of betrayal. And for the first time in months, I felt calm, just enough to keep walking forward. Nathan was waiting in the hallway. When he saw me, he left his conversation with an older couple and walked over. You okay? I nodded. Okay, or at least getting there. He smiled, offering his hand. Ready to leave? The sooner the better. We quietly headed to the car, leaving behind the grand ballroom, the sweet background music, and the nosy stares still busy digesting everything that just happened. I didn't look back. There was nothing left to see. The whole drive back to Denver, I didn't talk much. Nathan didn't push. He just played soft jazz and occasionally reached over to hold my hand. No questions, no explanations needed. That silence didn't suffocate me. It gave me space to realize I no longer hurt because of Tyler. No more imagining the what-ifs. No more blaming myself for not being enough. No more unfinished dreams locked inside a returned ring. It was all done. And the thing I never expected. In the end, I felt grateful to Emily. She ended a relationship I would never have had the courage to walk away from. One that had lasted on routine, not kindness. 3 weeks after the wedding, I moved out of my old apartment in Cherry Creek and into Nathan's place. Not because I was rushing, but because the peace I found with him wasn't loud, but it was clear. Clear enough to make me want to put down roots. Nathan liked to wake up early to make breakfast. His eggs were always overcooked and the toast a little burnt, but I never complained. And he always smiled when I tried to sneak a peek at my messages while pretending to listen to him talk about a design project in Portland. We started building little habits, evening walks in Washington Park, Sunday cooking, reading the same book, then debating it late into the night. My love for him didn't strike like lightning. It came like a warm blanket slowly wrapping around me in the cold. No drama, no doubt, just right. My family remained a complicated chapter. I kept in touch with Dad. He still texted to check in, sometimes called to invite me to dinner. As for Mom, after Nathan's speech, she seemed to understand a few things. She became more cautious when mentioning Emily, and her texts grew shorter, avoiding the pressure-filled calls she used to make. Emily didn't reach out. I didn't either. But sometimes I thought about the look in her eyes that day in the restroom. The look of someone seeing herself in the mirror for the first time, without the filter of jealousy. I didn't need another apology. I didn't need a promise that things would be okay again. Some cracks can't be fixed, but you can learn to live with them without letting them bleed. One October evening, as Nathan and I were clearing the table after dinner, he suddenly said, "You know, when I first met you, I thought, this woman has been through something terrible, but I also saw she didn't let it define her." I paused, looking at him. And now I think she's the kind of woman who can rebuild a more beautiful life from the very pieces that broke her. I didn't say anything. I just stepped forward and held him for a long time. That night, I opened my laptop. I went back to my old personal blog, and for the first time since everything happened, I started writing again. Not to vent, but to retell the journey of someone who had been broken by betrayal, but didn't stay on the ground. And I ended that first line with a single sentence. They thought they'd taken everything. Turns out they were just clearing the way for me to begin a better chapter. Clara's story proves that sometimes the cruelest betrayal becomes the catalyst for the strongest rebirth. In real life, some losses feel impossible to recover from. But out of that collapse, we learn to love ourselves more, set new boundaries, and choose healthier relationships. Letting go isn't failure. It's a brave step out of the shadow of the past to rewrite our lives with our own hands, without needing anyone's validation. What do you think about Clara's decision? Was she too strong, or simply claiming what she truly deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful, real-life stories.